Hi, my name is Rainer Stropek. I'm an Azure MVP from Austria, and today I would like to show you an example that demonstrates the possibilities that Windows Azure Storage gives to you as a developer. In this webcast, I assume that you have basic knowledge about Windows Azure, that you have an idea about what's a web role and a worker role. I will not go into any details for that. I will really concentrate on the very differences between things like Azure Blob Store, Azure Table Store, SQL Azure, and all this stuff. I would like to demonstrate to you how these things all work together in one large example. I will write that example from scratch, and I hope it will be interesting for you. I will split this example into three parts. So this is the first part. We set up the project and we start by using SQL Azure. The demo scenario here in this example is quite simple. My job is to write a web application, a website that accepts customer orders. These customer orders are uploaded in the form of CSV files. So one file, very simple file format, just to keep the noise ratio very low here. This CSV file is very simple and it contains a lot of customer orders. So in our example, we assume that it is very likely that we will get a lot of traffic on this website and that we have to be able to process hundreds or even thousands of orders within a few minutes. Okay, so let's start to develop this solution. I have not prepared any C# code, but I have prepared one very simple table. You see this table here in SQL Server Management Studio. This table is called customer order. We don't go into any details. In practice you would have a lot more fields here. It's just for demo purposes. And I have created one stored procedure. Again, to keep the noise ratio low, I do not use entity framework and all this stuff during this sample, just to make it very simple and to be able to concentrate on the very basics of Windows Azure storage. This stored procedure will be called through regular ADO.NET, and I want to point your interest to this line here, wait for delay. In practice, storing a customer order involves a lot of checkings, foreign key constraints, all this stuff. So in practice, adding a customer order will maybe take a few moments. In our case, the customer order table is very small, and to simulate a more practical load on the database, I just added this wait for delay statement here to simulate a more complex stored procedure. That's enough for the database side for the moment. Okay, so let's start with the sample. We create a completely new project here. I add this project to this task here, and let's call it Azure Storage.web. We start by creating the web role. Therefore, we add, let's start the cloud project. I'm sorry. Let's select the Windows Azure Cloud Service project template here and hit OK. The next thing that Azure asks me is whether I want to have a web role, worker role, and all this stuff. Well, in fact, I'm not a big fan of all these pre-configured web roles. I will not select one here. I will just set up an empty cloud project and now add the ASP.NET website myself. With this, I can go with the ASP.NET empty web application template. Let's call this one Azure Storage.web. This will be our web application, and put it also in the root directory of our application here. Hit OK, and here we have our website. Now we have to connect the Azure Cloud project with the web project, and we do that by web role in solution, Azure Storage.web, hit OK. Fine, that's it. Okay, next one, we need a few references. I will add these references here. I will add a reference to the service runtime and to the storage client. These two DLLs, these two assemblies, come with the Windows Azure SDK. I recommend to install the newest SDK. It's the version 1.2. You can download it, and you don't only get a lot of the SDKs, you also get nice little add-ins for Visual Studio. So I encourage you to install Windows Azure SDK 1.2. Hit OK and the references are added. So let's add a web form that can accept our upload. So let's call this one file upload page ASPX. Okay, what do we need here? Let's make it rather simple. I think we should make an ASP file upload control here. Let's call this one order file upload, and we need the runat equals server here. Oops. And we need a button, ASP button ID equals to on file upload click. That's okay. Again, runat equals server, and the text could be upload file. Okay, that is simple enough. Maybe write something on top. Let's call this one H1 Windows Azure Storage Sample. Okay, that's it. That's enough for the moment. That's okay. So let's go to the code behind file. This is not a webcast about ASP.NET. I'm sure you are able to build such a simple page yourself. Let's concentrate on the implementation of this stuff. I mean, that's quite simple. We have to implement a protected void on file upload click. What do we have? We have an object sender and an event RxE. Nothing special here. We have to get the uploaded data. That's again quite simple. Our file content equals to let's say this is encoding UTF-8. That's fine. Dot get string, and we need the bytes, and the bytes is this dot order. How did we call it? Order file upload. Here it is, and 5 bytes. Okay, let's get the file bytes, and here we have the content. Now that's simple, and the point is what I want to demonstrate in this first part of this example is how do you use SQL Azure. I'm not sure if every one of you has already used the Windows Azure portal here, and I'll open it for those of you who have not seen the SQL Azure portal. Let me open it. Just no internet in the moment. Okay, I will show you that later. But the point is, SQL Azure is really a SQL server in the cloud. It's not only a SQL server in the cloud. You get a SQL Server cluster for free. It's every SQL Azure database is a SQL cluster with at least 3 instances. You get a load balancing. You get a load balancer in front of your database. You get a firewall that you can configure through the web interface of SQL Azure and things like that. But from a developer's perspective, the good news is that you can access SQL Azure just like any other SQL server. So what you can do here is we can I've prepared one simple snippet here. It's just ADO.NET. It has nothing to do with Azure. It's really very simple. We have our SQL connection here. We should add the using system.data.sql client. That's it. And let's go down. It's really extremely simple. As you can see, you can just use SQL Azure, ADO.NET, plain good old ADO.NET, and the point is here the connection string. Where can we get the connection string from? Well, usually you put the connection string in your web.config file. Well, not with SQL Azure and not with the cloud, not with Windows Azure.